So kia ora. Today I'm going to walk you through my teaching strategy project focusing on peer instruction. I'll cover the planning, the implementation and evaluation stages of the sprint model, breaking it down into 3 sections of the sprint model: identify, learn and then improve. So in the identify stage, I focused on one specific class, my Year 11 physics class. And through conversations with my fellow colleagues in the department, observations during class, and also my own intuition, I noticed that students were struggling with conceptual understanding, especially when it came to explaining their reasoning when looking at energy concepts, especially for those excellence questions. So I decided to implement peer instruction, where students work together to discuss and explain key concepts to one another. The idea was to engage them in structured discussions that would deepen their understanding. So I selected one particular student who had been struggling with these concepts through the entire year and was becoming disengaged, and I basically focused on monitoring them. I established measurable criteria such as the ability to explain the concept to a peer and also answer follow-up questions from myself to tease their understanding. Next, in the learn stage, I selected peer instruction again because it encourages collaboration and active learning, fostering on a deeper understanding of the physics. I adapted the strategy for the focus student by creating conceptual questions that address common misconceptions in physics, such as the ideas behind energy transfer and the differences between, say, heat and temperature. The resources needed were straightforward: prepared conceptual questions, whiteboards for group discussions, and online polling tools like quizzes or Kahoot to gauge understanding. I also sought support from my colleagues to observe the implementation and provide feedback to me as well. So I trialled the strategy in class. The students first reflected individually on the questions, then they discussed their responses in the small groups, engaging in active explanation and questioning. I monitored the discussion and collected student feedback afterwards through a Microsoft form, and they were able to articulate what they had learned, why the strategy had worked, and how they could potentially use it again, potentially in other contexts, not just in physics. Finally, for the improve stage, I evaluated the impact of peer instruction on my focus student and others in the class. I noticed a marked improvement not only in the focus student's ability to explain key concepts, but all overall class engagement. I reflected on the role of deliberate teaching in achieving the results, and by scaffolding discussions and providing real-time feedback in class, I helped students clarify their thinking. Other students beyond the focus individual also showed improvement, suggesting the strategy's wider impact. For future implementation, I would consider adapting the strategy for different topics, such as the units in electricity, around circuits, for example. And additionally, I plan to share this approach with my colleagues through a professional learning community, which we already have implemented at Marlborough Boys in the school, extending its use to other classes potentially. It's also a conversation with an associate principal who's in charge of professional development. As my next steps in professional development, I'll continue to explore peer-based learning strategies, including ways to incorporate technology, which I've already touched on, those online polling tools, for more interactive and immediate feedback. So, thank you for watching. I hope the breakdown of peer instruction demonstrated how thoughtful planning, strategic implementation, and reflective evaluation can, hopefully, significantly enhance student learning.